What's up, everyone? It's your boy Infrared. Welcome to the Scott Reports. Today I am bringing you an anime series review of ReZero. Now I'm going to talk about episode 25, of course, but the reason why I wanted to bring this video out, besides the obvious that ReZero is the best thing out right now, is that, you know, I kind of got off the rails and started doing all live reactions, starting from like episode maybe 18 or 20, all the way to the end, and I kind of lost sight of giving you guys my thoughts, my reviews of what's going on and what's happening in this phenomenal series. So I wanted to bring this video out for the people that want to see what I think, my review of this series, because when I'm doing the live reactions, you know, I'm so jacked up, I'm so hyped, that at the end of the video, I'm just so jacked up that I need to get my thoughts together and everything, and I just mentioned stuff in passing, but I have not made a video about like pretty much the second half of the series, which is mostly this is going to cover, but I'm going to cover the entire series overall too. My thoughts, my feelings, things I liked. I don't think it's anything I disliked about this series, as it goes without saying, and it's not like a spoiler that this series is definitely a masterpiece. It's definitely a masterpiece for this decade. You know, like back in the early 2000s, things like that, you know, you had your shows like Code Geass. I put ReZero on the level of that for the 2000s, or the 2010s rather, for the new classic. And some of the things that happened in this series are going to be talked about for a long time. Subaru as a character is going to be talked about for a long time, as this phenomenal series has etched its way into the higher echelon of anime. And it was just amazing, this entire ride, this entire journey. So first and foremost, let's get to episode 25 with the final battle against Betelgeuse, which Julius and Subaru going in, working together, had a little bit of a scare with Subaru getting possessed again by Betelgeuse, but he was able to fight out of it. Even Betelgeuse, to some point, got to where being inside Subaru's body, he actually got to see Satella, only to be rejected, and it just tore him apart so bad because he loves her so much, and that's what he always wanted, only to be tossed aside. It was kind of heartbreaking. I mean, I hate Betelgeuse, I hate his guts, but as a villain, he is phenomenal. So that was really big, and to hear Satella's voice was a big thing too, because we've always heard rumors about her, and we heard like whispers and seen things, but we actually had, even though it was a spirit, got to see her embodiment, which was a very big part of the episode. And of course that ending scene, oh man, that ending scene with the reunion of Subaru and Emilia finally being united, and Subaru, that speech of just telling him how he loves her, how much he cares about her for 9 minutes. I mean, he straight up kicked game to her for 9 minutes, was straight up on some pimp stuff, as he told her, I love you 2,000 times, I'll tell you 2,000 times, and just him just explaining how he feels and everything that he went through in this series for her, because he was doing everything for her, even to admit that he was selfish and he went about things the wrong way, but he wanted to do whatever he can to make it right. He wanted to take everything in and make it right and profess his love to her, and it was just so powerful, and I loved it so much for him to be saying these type of things, to admit the faults that he had throughout the series. And even with Emilia, with her not understanding, you know, his feelings and things like that, to even see her cry and be so happy, it really did hit a point with me, because she was like, no one has ever treated me this way. No one has ever went out of their way to make me feel special like you have. Even though she, you know, she may not understand, or she may not love him back right now, Subaru is still like, that's okay. I want to work with you until you do, and I'll be here forever for you until you do. And man, that was just a powerful, powerful scene. And to see the development that Subaru had as a character all the way throughout this series to this point, it was really rewarding. And I think the biggest thing the fans got from this was, I would say the Emilia fans got what they wanted out of this, because it's no denial that she's been getting dumped on by the Rem fans, especially by me. I'm Team Rem. I'm for Subaru and Rem. But this all started out with Subaru and Emilia, so to finally get even just a little bit of happiness and closure for that was great for those fans as well. And to actually end this series on a positive note is a big note as well, because you can't avoid spoilers. You can't. It's the internet. we all watch the same reviewers. We all are around the same circles and in the same chat rooms and stuff like that. And people intentionally or unintentionally are going to put out spoilers. And the way this series ended, by ending so happy, it's a lot of people who read the web and light novels who are actually a little bit salty about how it ended because a certain event didn't happen. And I got spoiled on it a while ago, but I tried to stay away from it as much as I can. But I can honestly tell you, with this series ending happily, I'm fine with the way it ended. And let me tell you why. I am fine the way that this series ended, going off on a good note. One, it's good to see Subaru go out happy after all that he's been through throughout this series. But most importantly, it's not confirmed that we're going to get a season 2. It's not. I mean, it's doing super well in Japan. We're loving it here in the States. But it hasn't been confirmed that we got a season 2. And most of the time, they'll tell you right at the end of the season, or right when it goes off if it's getting another season. We haven't got any word of that yet. Also, this is only like 15% complete from what the light novel people are saying, so there's plenty of content to chew through. But I think White Fox decided, or maybe Top A, or maybe somebody decided to end it on the way that it is, so everybody can be okay with how it ends if we don't see it again. For example, look at Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan came on in 2013. And we're still waiting on season 2. And that's been so long that people are beginning to forget about it. People are losing steam. And you have to remember that there is a large base of anime onlys out there who's not going to go and find the source. So to end it happily and not to end it on that brutal cliffhanger, I think it was a good move, because you can sit back and you can say, you know what? We started out on this journey happy, or in some way in an upbeat tone, and we ended it on an upbeat tone after all the tragedy that we went through. And again, I'm all for with this ending, with this happy ending, because we don't know when we're going to see it again. I mean, we can hope that it'll be a year, but it may be longer than that. It may never be longer than that. And that can affect the series as a whole, because we know how it feels to have that series that we're waiting on to get continued again, and we're just holding out, waiting on the anime to come back, and it never does. I mean, for a while, look at D. Gray Man, look at Berserk, look at all those series like that never came back, or they came back millions of years later. And I wouldn't want Re:Zero to be tarnished like that. So that's why I'm okay with the way it ended. I think everybody's just overreacting because the series is so great and we wanted to see what was going to happen. But you have to have that happy medium for the people that can't or won't follow the source, because you're bringing in one demographic with just anime. You're bringing in the anime onlys in some point. So you got to keep them pleased too. So that's enough on that. Let's get down to some of the things that made this series great and why I'm putting this video together. Let's get to the fun stuff. Let's get to the background. Let's get to everything about Re:Zero. To be completely honest with you guys, I was going to pass on this series, or if I wasn't going to pass on it, I was just going to watch it maybe like when it was over or later, because I read the synopsis about it. And it just seems like it wasn't anything out the ordinary. A boy goes into a virtual world or into another world, tries to save a girl. He can come back to life, blah, blah, blah. At first, it seemed like it was something that I have seen before. In fact, I have seen before over and over. And I was just fatigued on the whole dungeon fantasy person pulled to another world type of scenario. You had SAO, you had Log Horizon, you had Grimgar, which was running around the same time, I believe. I don't really remember because I didn't follow it. You had stuff like that. And also when you're dealing with the aspect of time travel, we just fresh came off of Bokodake, or Erased, the season prior. So my mind was a little bit fatigued of dealing with somebody being dropped into another world again. But that's where Re:Zero came in and brightened up. And again, it didn't hit me right away. I enjoyed the first episode. I really did enjoy it. In fact, it was the first episode that I said, okay, this might be different, even though it was later into the series where I said things really got real. But it was refreshing to see almost from the first episode that this was going to be a deconstruction of those type of series. I mean, like even things like, is it wrong to pick up a girl in a dungeon? I mean, it just seems like Re:Zero took all those things and your expectations of a series like that and just turned it on its head. You can really say this was a deconstruction of the dungeon or fantasy genre, which makes it a masterpiece. Re:Zero is also heavily psychological, which was, to my surprise, is the things that Subaru went through in this anime. And that's the thing is, if you're trying to sell this to somebody who would be watching it for the first time, I don't know what to expect. I would label it as psychological because all the hardships that Subaru went through, and Subaru being that type of character, being that type of flawed character, you see his development throughout the series. It's not an action-heavy anime. There's comedy there. I mean, personally, it gives you everything that you need, from romance to action to comedy. Everything that you need is there, but they're sprinkled out throughout the season. So if you're trying to sell this to that shonen friend who only watch things with fights and battles, they're going to be bored by it. But that's when you have to tell that friend that this is a big boy anime. It's about time for you to adult up and watch something that has a little bit more depth. And with that being said, I would definitely recommend Re:Zero to anybody. It's kind of like, you know how like Death Note may have been like the anime you showed to people and say, hey, this stuff gets real. Or Bebop. Again, I got to put Re:Zero in that category as one of the greats that you will want to show somebody to get them into good anime, real anime, perfect anime. As yeah, it didn't to me, but I can see to some people how it'll start off slow, and you definitely can't start in the middle. Like, I know somebody who tried to watch it at like episode 16. I was like, what are you doing? You don't even know why we're at the part that we're at. So, of course, you're not going to understand. But then again, it's the type of person who is just looking for action and slashing. So, it might not be for them. But again, that's why I'm going back to saying this is a big boy anime. This is an adult anime. You got to come in with an open mind. And everybody knows that you're going to get your brain trembled. And you're going to get your mind fucked watching this series. And for me personally, it was around episode 5. Episode 5 through 7, that arc is when the series got real. I mean, you know, you had the introduction, but episode 5 through 7 is when the world started to open up. We got introduced to Rem, Roswaal, everybody in the mansion. This was like one of the first really brutal deaths that we seen Subaru go through. And this was like the first time that we started to see these deaths starting to take a toll on his psyche as he's dying over and over and over, and he doesn't know the ramifications of it. This was the first time that we saw him actually kill himself to go back to fix something. And that's the mastery of Re:Zero, because, again, we've seen this type of stuff before. But to see it done on this level, to see the writing that was done for this series, and to see the things that this series put us through, giving us characters that may even have been side characters that we learned to care about. To see a character like Subaru become what he was at the beginning of the series to the middle of the series to the end, I can't praise enough how good this was, as this series is just so perfect. And I know this is a review, but it's kind of like a reaction too, because my mind is blown by how this series has progressed throughout the years. And this is kind of like a little bit of a backstory with me is, now that this series is ended, I don't know what to do. I mean, this was my Sundays, and I know me being a heavy Gundam fan, you know, I got Iron Blooded Orphans, you know, I got Ajin and things like that. But Re:Zero may have been the first time that a series has ended, and I felt that emptiness in my heart, because the first time, you know, when Durarara ended, I wasn't there for the beginning of Durarara. I started watching it like last year because I heard that it was going to be finishing off, and I started watching it from there. I guess the question I'm trying to get to, like, for people that watch something from beginning to end, like, is this how I felt when Code Geass ended for you guys? Like, if you watched that from beginning to end. See, a little bit about me, and I have no problem in this. I was a straight up shonen head. I mean, I have vast anime knowledge. I've seen a lot of anime. But I come from an era when anime was kind of hard to find. It wasn't like, you know, you didn't have Crunchyroll and things like that. I came up when you had to find things on the internet. You had to download things on the internet. You couldn't get the complete series. And it wasn't until the late 2000s that a certain website, and everybody knows what that website is, gave you everything that you needed to find on the internet. And that's when I went back and started watching all the things I've always wanted to watch and catch up from there. But I didn't become like a weekly anime follower until 2013. So I was there for like Attack on Titan, Psycho Pass, 2012, 2013. You know, Attack on Titan, Psycho Pass, Kuroko no Basketball, and things like that. Again, another series that I was sad to see go. But Re:Zero may have been the first true experience, because even some of those I caught up late. But to watch from the first episode to the last episode, and to have that heaviness in my heart that I'm not going to be able to talk about this anymore for I don't know how long, to see such a perfect series end, it's sad, but at the same time it makes you happy as well to get this experience. And I know it's still more Re:Zero content out there, but again, it's so hard to get a hold of it. It's so hard to get to, and I'm definitely diving into the web novel because I found out, like, at the very least, how to find out what happens after this episode. But it feels good to have that type of closure, and I'm so glad that I can experience this type of experience that everybody had. Like even Hunter x Hunter. When Hunter x Hunter ended, I was sad, but I know there's more Hunter x Hunter material out there. So I guess the best example besides Code Geass that I can use is Parasite, because Parasite was adapted from beginning to end, and when it ended, I was just like, man, that was a good series. What am I going to do now? And that sadness is back with ReZero. It's kind of like a bittersweetness. It's kind of like how I will feel when Game of Thrones is over. And that just shows, again, the magnitude that ReZero has. You might as well just call this a praise video, because that's what it is, because I have nothing but praise for it. I mean, I'm trying to find cons and I can't. So, it's times where I just become speechless because I just love this series so much. And for it to be something that I never even thought I was going to watch or even be interested in, for it to have the impact that it had on me. And then there are a couple of key episodes that anybody would agree with is definitely the best points. Episode 7, again, this is the first time that we've seen Subaru go through real trauma, real pain. Episode 15, that episode alone rocked the entire anime community with Betelgeuse, with what happened with Rem. Who is Rem? That whole situation. To see Subaru break down and finally get to that mental point that we all knew that someone should get to at that point. It was the heart-wrenching things and the things that pretty much drug this character through the mud, even though he still rose up. It was not without fault. It was not without consequence. And it was definitely not without trauma. As this series was on some dark berserk shit. But even still, it was done so masterfully, so clean, so tastefully. I mean, like after episode 15 and I think like episode 17, people were going to drop this series because of the things that we went through with Betelgeuse, the things we went through with Rem, to see Emilia dead, to see Subaru come to the town and see Ram and everybody in the village dead, only for him to die by Puck. I mean, it was a lot of things that happened in this series that had people rocking in their chair in the fetal position, even wondering if they wanted to continue the series because it was so sad. Which also goes back to the point with me being okay with how it ended, because after all that we went through, we did at the very least, or even if it's temporary, got some happiness out of this series. And also the battle with the white whale, again, when I started doing live reactions instead of reviews, that was just super hype. Man, and I don't regret doing live reactions for those at all, because you got to see how your boy gets when he watches something this good, and the shock and the pain and everything that we went through, from seeing the shock of having the 3 whales pop up, to seeing the victory, to seeing William's backstory, to thinking William was dead, to seeing Subaru take everything that he learned and grow. Going back to like when he was trying to get the all the candidates to help him, for him humbling himself finally to ask for help, to calm down out of his mental states, to plan. Just everything about this series just hit all on the right notes, and it's definitely anime of the season. That is without a doubt. So with that being said, let's get down to some of the things that are still left in the air, some of the things I still want to talk about, and some of the things that I wonder about this series. So first, where's Elsa? I mean, really, where is this babe? Where is she? We seen her in the fight with Reynard. She disappeared. We never seen her again. I hope we get the Bowl Cutter back, as not only was she a badass looking character, she was interesting as well, and she was like the first nemesis that Subaru went against and started to find out about everything going on in this world. So we definitely need her back. Secondly, Rem. Oh my god, Rem. The world is taken by storm by this character. The epitome of a ride or die chick. The epitome of best girl. I still ship Subaru Rem, even though after this episode I'm okay with him and Emilia. Rem took the world by storm, and Emilia fans took a pounding for a while. Subaru took a pounding for a while for not choosing Rem after everything that she went through. All the pain, all the hurt that she went through, because she loved this character. And even when she told Subaru that she loved him, he was still like, okay, but I love Emilia. That kind of pissed me off, but she was such a good character, from being the sister that wasn't as good as the other, from the sacrifices that Ram made for her going to her demon state, for her going in, because I think Rem went in more than anybody in this entire series, and for her being there for Subaru no matter what, she has to be on your best girl list, at least just for that. So, let's clap it up for Rem. Again, another character that's going to go down in history along with Subaru. Roswaal, I still don't trust this fucker. I don't trust him at all because I don't trust clowns. Ever since I played Final Fantasy VI with Kefka, this guy gives me Kefka vibes. Like, even though he's showing this facade that he's a good person, I don't trust him at all. I still think he's up to something, especially when I saw that he was there when Rem and Ram, you know, the village got slaughtered and they were taken in. He was with the cult then. I would love to get into his backstory. Still don't trust him. Reinhardt, where's this guy? All we know is that he's broken. He looks clean as fuck. And that's all we know about him. I would love to see him again. Betelgeuse. Oh, man, I could go on about Betelgeuse all day. Everybody could go on about Betelgeuse all day, as he was definitely one of the contenders for Villain of the Year. I'm still holding Sato from Ajin up there just because the magnitude of the things he did. And, you know, you got Kira from JoJo coming in, but Betelgeuse, this character was so compelling, so much scum. But at the same time, he was so entertaining that you can't help but to like him no matter what he did and how much you hate him. He's definitely a type of character that will stand the test of time because in the end, he just wanted to be loved. He just wanted to be loved by the witch, right? Even though he got rejected, that's all he wanted. In some ways, that's a parallel to Subaru as well because we know that the witch has chosen Subaru. So it must be known that she's looking for something or somebody in order for Betelgeuse to be so devoted to her, which also leads to the gospel book. I would like to know what the hell it said because it looks like it was written in that dialect that we don't know how to translate yet, or at least Subaru don't. And then it had blank pages. So what's up with the blank pages? What the hell does Subaru write in that book? It's a lot of questions out there. My biggest question still, and I don't think that was resolved, is the blank letter. Like, who sent the blank letter to Roswaal's residence from Krusz, because we know Krusz wasn't cut like that to declare war, especially after everything that she went through with Subaru. So I would have liked to get a little bit of closure on that too. There's still some things out there that's dangling as far as what's going on with that. And overall, I think the biggest thing, or the biggest two things I want to find out more about is, one, Subaru's life before he got to this world, because we were literally dropped into this fantasy setting with him coming out of that convenience store in episode 1, closing his eyes and waking up and he was in this world. I would like to know more about Subaru himself before he got into this world, and what was his life like then, and does it affect things as far as him being a character now, and then also his ability to return by death. It has to have a limit. I mean, is it like a number on how many times he can die and come back? Is it going to get to a point where he won't be able to come back? Or is it going to get to a point where he won't be able to change some things? Like, you know how it is, like you do something in a video game and you try to save it, but you already screwed up and it's too late. I have a feeling that Subaru's going to get to that type of point in some point in the series, because everything just can't be as clean. He can't just kill himself and make everything work. I feel that at some point he's going to get to something that he can't fix. And that's going to be the true hurt, because I just have a feeling that's going to be something on a huge magnitude that he's not going to be able to fix. That's going to crush us once again, because Tappe loves to crush us. He loves to build us up just to break us down. He's definitely up there with Kentaro with Berserk as far as putting his readers and his viewership through suffering. But he does it so good that we come back. But the main thing that makes this series so great is Subaru himself. Top 10 character. Easily. He might even be higher than that. I can't rank him yet. I don't even know my top 10 characters. But he should definitely be up there, and he should be pretty high, as Subaru is an immensely flawed character. I mean, we started off with a character who thought he was like in a video game world. He's like, you know, I'm the hero. I'm going to make everything right. You know, he had that. He got humbled a few times. Subaru's not even the strongest person in this universe, and he knows that. Everybody around him knows that. He's flawed. He's selfish. He acts like how you would act in this setting. He didn't do anything that you wouldn't have done. And it was times where that pissed me off, because, you know, as we're watching this fictional type of sense, we always want the main character to prevail. We don't want them to do dumb shit. And I've been in comments and I've been in like debates and disputes with people when I said that Subaru was fucking up. And it doesn't mean that I hate him as a character. It just meant that he was just doing stupid shit. But at the same time, that's what makes him a good character. And because he's the main character, I don't have to agree with everything that he did. I didn't have to agree with him killing himself at times. I didn't have to agree with him picking Rem. I didn't have to agree with him raving like a madman trying to explain things to people where he should know that nobody knows what he's going through or what he's talking about. But the thing is he got smarter every time. There was that time we had the mental lapse that tore me apart after seeing what Betelgeuse did to Rem and everything that he's been to. Who wouldn't be crazy at that point? But the fact that he rose up from all of that, each time he comes back, he did things differently. He retained things. He learned things. He got to the point where even though he is the weakest person in this entire series, he is still useful because he was crucial to that battle against Krush and the white whale and everything else, because he was able to lure the whale with the scent of the white witch. I mean, he's just a fantastic character. Easily the best developed character I've ever seen. I almost want to crown him #1 as far as character development, because to see this selfish, needish, lazy type of character that we saw at the beginning, the character that was only out for himself, a character at one point that wanted to die and give up, the character at one point that didn't want to die and said screw trying to fix everything, but he manned up and he did it anyway. There's just so many moments about this character himself that if you're not convinced that he's one of the best characters ever written, I don't know what you're watching. I don't know what you expect. Subaru is definitely the shining point of this series, and this series has a lot of very good characters. Like Krush. Krush is my favorite character in the series. Subaru being #2. I love Krush. I mean, I just love that she's a knight. I love that she's badass. I think that she would be the best candidate for a queen. But you can't take anything from the man Subaru. He was written for you to hate him, because they developed him so well that you understood why he did the things he did. He understood why he did the things he did. Overall, he acknowledged the mistakes that he made. He wasn't the type of main character that everything was handed to him. He was the type of main character that truly earned everything that he had. And for that, I have to put him as one of the best characters of all time. So, in conclusion with ReZero, what do I give it? I mean, if you can't tell already, I give this series a 10 out of 10. I highly recommend it. I recommend it to anybody that I can. Now that it's over, it's going to be easier to tell people to watch it, because, you know, people like to binge. They don't like to wait until the series ends to see how it ends. Clap it up. Standing ovation, clap it up. New classic. Definitely going in my top 15, if not 10 animes of all time. I gotta say 15 now because I just spent all this time thinking about my top 10. But it's going to be higher. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. I know it's long, and I apologize for that, but I didn't want to leave anything out. And again, I felt that I should have put out this type of video to express how much I love one of my all-time favorite animes right now. It's definitely going to be in my all-time favorites. There's no question about that. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for sticking it out if you watched it all the way through. If you like this video, go ahead and drop it a like. And if you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as there's not a shortage of content for you guys to indulge on this channel, as we're going to keep getting it in for the fall season. And as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me. And I really appreciate that, so thanks for stopping by. On that note, it's your boy Infrared signing out. Starting from zero. See you soon.